Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to do a roll call. We have Ronald Cook, Ralph Jewell. I'm John Moran.
I'm Percy King.
And I'm Steve Bullock, alternate.
Okay. And we haven't, our agenda is simply this appeal this evening. And so I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So move.
All those in favor? 5-0? I'm sorry, 4-0. No 5-0. Okay. We have a request for a variance for 11th McGrath Lane. And you must be Joanna Owen?
I am.
We were looking over the application, and tonight we actually got some of the questions answered, because I see on the additional paperwork, we do have the size of the garage. And, the lot you own, the other lot, which lot, where exactly is that lot at?
That lot, we own 3 lots. Over the winter months, we've actually purchased the lot which is D. We owned E and F, and D is, if you look at this proposal on this page,
Yes.
this is, if you put McGrath in your bottom left-hand corner, we own this lot, which is F, E, and we now own D. So we own all these lots right there.
A question for James. On
Do-
the
do you-
ordinance, Part D, the board shall not grant a variance unless it finds that. Number 1 in particular, if this is your lot, ma'am, I see something labeled down here, wetland area. Now, if you read number 1 on Part D, property is not located in whole or in part within any shoreland area. Is that shoreland or a wetland considered a shoreland?
No.
No, this is just for purposes of the map depicting an area that was wet. It's not
Okay,
considered
that's
shoreline.
not shoreland.
Randy
Nothing
wouldn't
to do with that. Okay.
Yeah, Randy wouldn't have sent it to you if it had been.
What is the footage required on wetlands?
Well, there's different categories. 75, 250. This just is not in that category, so not an issue for you.
Oh, Ronnie's got a question.
The only reason I brought it up was the fact that I can remember several years ago, we got a little hot water, a little nasty letter from the state about one we granted.
Yeah, and in particular, the one that you're thinking on, what is actually an abutter to a wetland and a shoreline zoning. This is not in the shoreline zoning map.
Ronnie had a question.
Ron, you have a question?
Your existing house, that was put in this winter or last winter?
Last winter.
Last winter.
We moved, not this past winter, the winter before and spring. We moved July of 2016.
Well, I remember seeing the crane set in the house, but,
Right.
so I have to believe that this existing house is meets the setback from the wetland, correct?
Correct.
It had to have before they'd allowed it to be in there. The other question I have, this is you have an open concept cellar in the back. You have a driveway that goes down to the back of the house.
No, yes, we have a tuck-in garage.
There is a garage underneath the house?
Yes, small garage.
Okay. If you build, now this lot just before your land, do you own that lot also?
Yes. When you say just before, as you're
Just
driving?
before your driveway, when you're driving in,
Yes,
you own that lot.
We purchased that lot over the winter, yes,
That lot right there?
correct.
Okay.
I'm still confused about which one you are.
I own all these lots that are shown on here.
All right, thanks.
So, I guess my question is, and I don't know who's gonna answer this, but you're building a garage, and now I see we got the measurements, which we didn't have before. It's a 28 by 32 garage. Trust me, it's not big enough. Mine's 28 by 32, and it's not big enough.
My husband had the same comment.
We know that's set back away from the wetlands because it's not even with your home. One of the problems I have is that you're building this garage in your driveway, correct?
Yes, it will overlap part of the driveway, that's correct.
Yeah, it'll overlap the biggest part of it.
Right.
And when I drove down by your house to look at it, because I said that I got to see it, so John and I both rode down, took a look, see where it all was. The thought that come to my mind when I was looking at the other sheet, and by the way, thank you for this one, I appreciate that,
No problem.
is this lot, and I don't know how you numbered them, but I'm looking at the lot that coming in, the first lot before your driveway,
Yes.
is that big enough to build a house on?
Oh, yes,
It is.
oh, yes.
The problem I'm gonna have here, and the question I'm gonna ask is, when that garage gets set there, this driveway is gonna be moved onto that other lot,
Which we own,
which you own at the present time.
right.
But with that driveway on that other lot, would that driveway meet the setbacks if they decided to sell that property?
There would be numerous ways to deal with that. If they in the future decided to sell that lot, they could have a right-of-way drawn up for it. That's not, they meet the setback to that lot with the building. If they move their driveway over there and want to sell it, it would probably diminish the value of that lot, but it's permissible to have a right-of-way across the lot that you sell to someone else. So that's not the issue, it's the placement of the garage and the variances for the setback from the McGrath right-of-way.
Well, and I know what you're saying, James, but my thought, and I'm looking this all over, is what happens in the future if this lady decided to sell that property, if we created another problem. Well, apparently we haven't. And that was a question I had. As far as the setback of the garage goes, we've got a 30-foot setback, and it looks like your septic system, that apparently you had to purchase land on the other side to get your septic system in.
That's correct.
That's in that 30-foot right-of-way also.
It
Half of
actually isn't, just to let you know, this is where they put it in the septic design that was done, but in reality, if you look, it's further and back and closer to the house. The septic field is, if you drove by, you saw a big deck off the side. The septic field is right beyond the deck.
Oh, it is? Okay, it looked like it was set back further than this
It is.
picture.
It is, and what happened was the builder had used an old survey when they did the septic design, so it still shows it as being closer to the setback. It's not at all.
And really, the only reason you want this building pulled forward is to keep the fill. You apparently have to fill that, because I noticed that driveway dropped fast.
Let me
So
tell
you wanted to keep the fill to a minimum?
No, I'm gonna really tell you what the real problem was. We're not Mainers, and when we moved here, we didn't think it was any big deal, this hill, right? We just didn't think it was a big deal. The first snowfall, the snowplow ran off the end where I've shown you there's a drop off, ran off that end. There's a precipitous drop past the driveway. It just plummets down a hill. That's in fall, summer, spring, this is a lovely driveway. In the winter, it's the hideous driveway where I personally am totally uncomfortable driving it. It gets really icy, as you know, and even with my snow tires and all-wheel drive, it's very uncomfortable. After the snowplow ran off, I started getting really scary. The whole idea behind this was we wanted to move it up so we'd have a flatter landing into the garage so we could get in and out without having to go down that steep or risk actually running down the drop-off behind the driveway. That's all this is about. We studied this for months. I had the builder out, Northeast Equipment out.
Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie, probably 20 times. I drove him insane, in fact, because originally our idea was, well, could we, and that's part of the reason why we bought this, we wanted to buffer this other lot that we bought over the winter. And we thought about putting it there because then it's a straight shoot and it's fairly level. The problem with that is, that's my husband sitting over there, that's a lot of shoveling and plowing to get to your garage. So Charlie and I actually, on about the 20th time we went out there, we took stakes. And I said, Charlie, where can we place the garage so it's not a complete nightmare to get in and out during the winter? We know we're going to have to shovel in front of the garage. We've got snow plows that are coming in to do the road, and so we landed up, and actually, to further, I'm going to amplify a little bit, we called Randy Hall, and both of us talked to him on the phone. We've set this, but we can't remember what the setback line is. Is it 10 feet or 30 feet? He was thinking it was R1, and it was 10 feet. And I said, that's perfect, we can do it. Well, it was 30 feet. We tried moving those stakes back another 30 feet to meet that setback. You're right at the worst angle going down that driveway if you put it there. And that was why I wanted the variance, because it becomes, I want to rid myself, my husband, our kids, you know, of the hideous hill, the hideous winter hill. That's really what this is about.
Are you here in the wintertime?
We are. We've relocated. We love Maine, and I love Maine winters. I just hate my driveway.
A question. In the gray area, that's your driveway that goes to the existing garage into the house.
Yes.
Is that correct? In the gray.
No,
shape
that's the existing. That's the
driveway.
existing.
But I would assume that and the gray area that goes down to the existing house is where it drops off big time, right?
Yes.
So then, the beyond the proposed garage, that driveway will be there, but it just won't be usable. Would that be correct?
I think the plan will be, we're just going to swing it a little wider, the driveway around, and it's going to connect up. But we're not going to use it in the winter.
Okay, I mean,
We're just not going to use it.
okay, and the setbacks that you have are according to the ordinance. James, setbacks, it sounds like they're setbacks to their land, is that correct?
Yeah, they own both lots, so the setback,
No.
the only one that you're truly dealing with is the front setback, which is to the right of way. They are within the standard for the side setback because it's 10 feet, but it's 10 feet to their own land.
So the setback then is too close to the right-of-way that the town owns?
It's private right of way,
Pardon?
private right of way.
Okay.
We don't own it.
Who does own it?
The subdivision.
Pardon?
The subdivision.
The subdivision, and
That's
is
why
anybody,
the hearing was posted.
is the individual that's in charge of that subdivision, have they complained?
There's no longer an owner of the subdivision. All the lots have been sold.
All the lots have been sold, there is no subdivision there now anyway.
Well, it still remains a subdivision,
but if
it's
there's
owned
no-
by the owners of the property.
But the owners then own that right away then? And she owns the property all around that right away area?
With the exception of across the street.
The cross the street is owned by an individual. Bought it many, many years ago. It is undevelopable, because it's It's a ravine. It runs, there's a center stretch of the subdivision that runs from McGrath all the way down to where Morrow Brook, which is the wetlands behind here, hooks up to the bay. And it's a ravine. It's totally undevelopable. And I should tell you, I have talked to my neighbors about that. I mean, I have said, would anybody have any objection? I can't see that anybody would, frankly, because the road is so far away. If you're standing in the road and you're looking at our driveway and where we want to put the garage, you're probably a good 100 feet away, at least, from the private road. It's far.
According to this, it's 40 feet. You said it's 33 and a
No,
half. She's going
it's
another 10.
It's migrated. It's further than that. What it's 30 feet from where the house is to the property line, but the road has migrated over. It's not anywhere close. I don't know how to say it, but if you look at it, that's where the road is, but the road is not where it was platted. It's shifted over. They didn't, I guess, establish it in the proper area. Who knows? It's been there forever, but.
Well, according to this diagram, and what James have told me, you got a solid line here, and that's where the road right-of-way is. Then you got a dotted line here, is where the road is. And then you got a 30-foot setback, and that's in front of your house. So actually, you're 40 feet from the set, well, 43 feet, but it's 33 and a half.
That would be,
I
that
just
would be
don't,
correct.
says private road all the way down through there, James. When John and I went down, there's signs up there says private right away. So, other than somebody's gonna build a boulevard down through there, I don't see any big heartache. I really don't.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is any other property owner's property affected by the variance?
No, there's nobody around. Across the street, it's unbuildable. There are two other houses at the end of the street. One they're all down by the bay, and we're up the rise from it. There's really nobody around.
Percy?
Question. As I look at the granting of variance, we've already discussed number one. Number two, the strict application of term and town ordinance would result in undue hardship, which is on the application. A, the land in question cannot yield a reasonable return. What does a reasonable return mean?
That's subjective. That would be, that would be your decision. That's what you're here tonight to talk about. It's subjective.
It's a nebulous term, then, basically. Okay. As I look at the other conditions, B, C, and D, won't alter the essential character of the locality. The hardship is not a result of the action taken by the applicant, and the need for variance is due to the circumstances of the property itself with a big drop-off. They've met all the criteria. And the idea behind the setbacks, they, as far as I'm concerned, they meet the setback requirements.
John?
And it's a setback on their own land.
Yes.
May I make a motion that we approve this? I mean, it just, she owns half the road that's in front of a house anyway, or part of it.
Is that a motion? I'll second
I'll
it.
make a motion that we grant it, because I'll tell you, I don't see no Interstate 95 ever going down in there, and I don't think the people that own the property is ever gonna approve of that anyway.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any questions? I have one. On your garage, the opening to the garage is facing the road.
Correct.
Why couldn't they have moved the garage back
Move the garage.
instead of having it, put it farther back where your house is? It's basically the only difference between your house and the garage is 4 feet.
I heard her I heard the answer to that in her description earlier. It starts to fall off. The driveway goes down.
Yeah.
So if she moved back, she'd be driving down into her garage instead of on the level where it's at that point.
All the water and ice and everything
I
was going
mean,
into
it
her
was just a
garage.
question, and I do know what fill is too.
Yeah, I mean, but if you also would take that and add the fill that would be required for the back of that garage, they would no longer have the ability to have a driveway to the lower part of their, and I'm not
That's
defending
correct,
it, I'm
James.
just saying, that's what I heard in her discussion.
Yeah.
So
that
for her to enter her garage the way it is sitting right now with the doors facing the road, she would actually be in that right of way.
No,
Well,
No.
she'd have to move her garage out.
she's not in the right of way, she's in the 30-foot setback from the right of way.
Right, there's,
Right.
She would be approximately 10 feet from the 30-foot, from the actual right of way.
the door entering the garage, not the garage. The door entering the garage is gonna be on the back, or the side, but towards the back of the garage. If you look at that second, if you look at the third sheet where it shows the garage, there's gonna be a door towards the back, so you hippy-hoppy along, and there's a door right there. So we have 14 feet to get to the garage, as opposed to when we started measuring it, if we, first of all, we couldn't put it lower, but if we put it on the other one, on the other lot.
Well, any more questions?
I just have a comment, John. If that garage was pushed back and she was still to use the backyard in the summertime,
Yep.
she would have to build a retaining wall of some sort to hold the gravel back from blocking that
Yep.
backyard, because you'd have to have such a slope beyond the garage. I can see where the slope that they're gonna, the gravel slope they're gonna put in now probably won't interfere with the backyard, but if she pushes it back, it's going to. And that would be a retaining wall issue. I'm sure Charlie's mentioned that.
Yes, he has.
And like I said, I don't foresee these people down there allowing much wider road than say they do after I'm dead and gone, I guess. Or James, as James says, after we leave, then the garage is gonna be 10 feet from the right of way of the road. But I just don't see a problem. They own the whole darn thing down there, and I doubt if anybody's gonna build a boulevard down through there. I doubt it very much.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. Any more questions? All those in favor of the motion? It's unanimous, 5-0.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you very much for, I know this was calling together on one small matter, but I really appreciate it, because I'm chomping on the bit to beat the first snowfall to get this out.
Charlie will get it up for you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And it's not big enough, trust me. My garage is the same way. Stop by the house and look inside, and you'll go, oh my God, I gotta build this twice or so. Don't let Randy know, because they'll start taxing the heck out of you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have one 11th hour item. If everyone could check in with Debbie sometime next week to make sure your oaths are signed. Yeah.
Oh, you mean we didn't do this for life? Seems like it.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Oh, we got 11th hour stuff, don't we? That's it? That was it? Oh, well, I'll accept that, I'll second that motion then.